So what I did here was with the blank version here of my development brainstorming sheet, it says use the space to develop and brainstorm your thoughts and ideas on the scenes. Consider these points. First, the physical setting, all right? So if you look, each of the cells, you can see some of them with the close-up. There's really not a lot that you can do in the background, but there are several that have the ability for you to develop the scene, the space, whatever it may be. So you got to think of that. Next, references. Can you gather photo references that will help you illustrate the background setting? All right. What type of background could I be in? That's something you want to think about. So I can go on and look for comic background references with cityscapes and things like that I could use to draw information in behind my subject. Next, the character development. Make informed decisions on the clothing, hair, and skin colors of your characters. So that's what I've got here so far. So I'm going to kind of keep this here. And if we look at each of these 6 areas, right? Cell number 1, male character. That's this guy right here. So, and if I look at that, and I can see there's the female character, I'm just dealing with him because this is the only appearance he makes. So the male character, what color hair do I want him to have? What color shirt do I want him to have? What color pants, shoes, and then what type of skin color do I want him to have? And what I did was, with that, I went in with the colored pencils and I tried stuff out. You know, maybe give him some brown hair. Even though he doesn't have a lot of hair to show, I could put a little wisp of color up in there to kind of give myself an idea. And then I wrote down the names of the colors. I got sienna, canary yellow, and goldenrod. So I have all of those colors that I went through on all of these characters, and I wrote them all down by looking at my practice sheet, and I figured stuff out. Now, one of the things that I did was if I have certain like pants colors, shirt colors, or things like that, I don't want too much repetition. For example, this character here, the big guy, all right, here's the big guy, and this character here with long hair, as I was going in looking at that scene, I said, all right, the long hair guy, I want him to have khakis, so yellow, sienna, brown, and cream. And the big guy, I also put khaki, and I have goldenrod, light brown, and cream. That's going to work great when they're nowhere near each other, for example, in this cell. But in this cell, you can see both of their pant legs areas are near one another. So I've got to be careful about how I use those similar khaki colors. That's why I used 2 different colors to create the khaki, and I wrote the names of them down. That way I can just refer to which colors I want to use where, all right? And then some areas, obviously, I did not go into it with colored pencil because, okay, I want the guy's hair to be blonde. I'm going to pick some colors that are going to give me a blonde hair. So I've got some yellows. I've got the cream color, all right? Some of those colors that I did here. The female character, her hair color, I wanted it to go kind of punk, so I'm going to go like a blue and a purple. So I wrote down this light cerulean blue, violet and white. Her shirt, I want to kind of have it kind of this pink and purple with the violet and pink. The pants are jeans, shoes black, and then the skin type. All right. So I have this to work from. The other thing as far as the physical setting, what I did was I wrote down here possible imagery to use to help establish the setting or space where the characters are. So I said, what can I do by looking at this? Where does it look like they are? All right, so if the character appears to be like she needs help. So this guy comes in and, saves her from this guy. She's scared, but he's like, no, everything's good. But then these guys are coming in. They hear the commotion. They're coming in to see what's the matter, to try to think on helping this person, so on and so forth. So where are these guys, right? There's a little bit of information that tells me where these guys are. So this is like, he's a big guy. He's crushing the concrete. So I want to look at maybe an interior of an alleyway for these guys to come running in. All right. So I'm establishing that. Obviously, smaller areas, I'm not going to have the ability to put in detailed backgrounds. Okay. So once I established that, I wrote that down. I'm like, I got brick walls. I could have alleyways. I could have buildings. I could have cityscapes. All right. So that gives me an idea. I can go onto my device and I can look up references to potentially help fill the background space in some of the cells that have space to do so. All right. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use this and I'm going to start figuring stuff out on here. Now when I figure stuff out on here, I need to do the coloring, but the first thing that I've got to do with the coloring is I've got to make a decision on the light source. What direction is the light source coming from? And I can look at the image itself to figure that out. So if I look at the cell and I look at the contours, any area where I see darker areas of contour, right in here, I see some shadows below the shirt. It's a tiny little area that I'm going to be working with. So if I went with his pants to be jeans, his shoes to be white, all right, his shirt to be gray, so I used a warm gray and an indigo color. Areas where I see those darker values, I'm going to need to make sure that I create the gradation. So the lightest area of the shirt is here. I'm going to practice my color. So what I have here is said his shirt is going to be gray. I've got a gray, 30% gray pencil, and I got a 70% gray pencil. And if the shirt highlights are going to be a lighter version of the gray, I'm just going to leave the white of the paper and create small areas of value. So let's go into the gray shirt. What I can't do is I can't shade the entire shirt one singular gray. This is not a coloring book. I need to make sure that I am showing these characters having depth and dimension based on the light source. So with this idea, I can see that the light source is probably coming from the top right in this scene because the shadows are bottom left. So what I want to do, since it's such a small area too, is just going to use the gray. And any area where you can see in between two little spots, all right, that's going to be a highlight. So if I come in and I just gradate out, obviously if the light's coming from the top, I'm going to have a darker area below. Going to have a darker area around where you have more of those darks. And I'll put a little bit of a gray in behind the female character's head. So basically I'm using these contour marks, these cross contours and these creases as a way to develop the shaded areas of the gray shirt. But I'm leaving those areas of highlight based on what I made the decision to figure out where the light source is coming from. All right, so this is a small area, and again, I'm just using this to figure it out. I'm going to redo this whole thing again on the final. So this is just giving me an opportunity to figure out the best method for using the colored pencils to recreate what I'm trying to recreate. All right, how am I going to use the colors for the pant leg? Well, some of the colors for the pant legs, in this case he's wearing jeans, I have a colored pencil called Denim Blue, and I also have a colored pencil called Blue Slate that are in addition to what we have in our set. So I don't want to just necessarily go in with the Denim Blue, right, and just color in the pants just this blue, because light is going to be affecting them. Again, I need to look at the contours. There's areas of highlight and shadow. So maybe if I use this darker blue in the areas of the denim that I know it's going to be a little bit darker, all right, so around behind the girl here, a little bit in there where some of those darker marks are. And then this color here, that's a nice light, that's the Blue Slate. You know, that I could use as some of the highlight or the middle values of the jeans. All right, so I'm using this here, which is denim and blue denim, and it's 1101. So I'm writing the number of that down so I remember. And then this is slate, and that is PC 1024. All right, so I'm just trying to figure out what colors I need to use where and how I'm going to use them. So I really haven't done a lot of techniques yet other than the gradient technique, because I have very specific and simplified instructions for this particular character's color scheme. All right, when I get into the skin tones and so forth, I am going to need to consider using these different colors to create areas of light, shadow, and so forth. All right, so I'm going to spend some time going in and just trying to figure out my color schemes, where I want them, how I want them, so that once I establish the color schemes with the female character, I'm going to have to carry those over to any of the cells that she is in. So she's in this one, she's in this one, she's in this one at the bottom, and she's in the final cell right there. So I have to carry over that same color scheme with any and all places where that character is. And again, this is just a rough. This is just to figure out some of the techniques and to practice them to give you an idea as to how and what colors I need to use where.